You've got two things pushing the Bitcoin price higher. The fact that the fiat currencies are all getting debased enormously over time and eventually will be completely debased, i.e. worthless, which is hyper-Bitcoinization. And then you've got the fact that, you've got this new form of sound money, which is not widely known, not widely distributed, still in the early infancy days. And more people are going to come and realize that it's really
Hey guys, welcome back to Everyday Finance. In this video, Larry Lepard discuss about Bitcoin and gold. According to Larry Lepard, gold is a good way to make money. It's not as good as Bitcoin, but it's good enough for the government that you can't print it, which is a big plus. And gold has kept you safe from the government. Some printing has been done, and a lot of what Larry Lepard thinks should have been extra has been taken away because we all know that they cheated. But it did work. It went up 8% a year on average since 1971. That's better than nothing. It bought a men's Roman time, still buys a men's suit one out. So you've got gold moving as a big old analog sound money. And then this new kind of sound money called digital sound money comes along, has a million other benefits, and it's not widely used or known. This is one of the two things that is driving up the price of Bitcoin. The other is that fiat currencies are all losing a lot of value over time, and lots of things Larry Lepard discuss. So please watch the video to end, and share this video, and subscribe our channel Everyday Finance. Thanks.
my concern. I had been a technology investor for a long time and sound money gold guy for a long time. And my concern was always, is this technology sound enough to really be immutable and reputable? I just, again, having seen the failed experiments, I thought, well, this one could fail too. And so I started going to and meeting core developers. The MIT had a lot of early conferences in the early days, and I learned a lot there. The halving, the difficulty, all the things that we all know now that make it what it is. SHA-256 and the cryptography, the blockchain, et cetera. So, and it became clear to me over time that actually it is what it says, what they said it was, which is really sound money that can't be changed, and with a mathematical formula and so on and so forth. And so, my conviction just kind of grew and grew and grew. Now, I was always quite convicted, still am, that gold is a great form of sound money, not as good as Bitcoin, but good. The government can't print it, and that's a huge advantage, right? And gold has protected you from government printing to a degree. A lot of what, I consider should have been the excess has been taken away because they've manipulated the shit out of it, as we all know. But it has worked. I mean, it's gone up 8% a year compound since 71. That's better than zero. It bought a men's suit in Roman times, still buys a men's suit 1 ounce. So you've kind of, you've got gold ticking along as big old analog sound money. And then along comes this new form of sound money, digital sound money, which has a gazillion other advantages. And it's not very well known or adopted. And so you've got two things pushing the Bitcoin price higher. The fact that the fiat currencies are all getting debased enormously over time and eventually will be completely debased, i.e. worthless, which is hyper-Bitcoinization. And then you've got the fact that, you've got this new form of sound money, which is not widely known, not widely distributed, still in the early infancy days. And more people are going to come and realize that it's really, it's gold that doesn't cost money to store. It's gold that can be transferred in 10 minutes. It's gold that's deflationary, not inflationary. I mean, even in the case of gold, the supply of gold will double in the next 40 years. It grows at about 1.8% a year. So compound that, we're going to have more gold. And of course, as we all know, the supply of Bitcoin is fixed. And so that makes it a deflationary currency, which some people say is bad. I think it's obviously good. Following along Jeff Booth's thesis of how the world is relentlessly deflationary. And so, that's kind of how I migrated. I just kept an open mind to it. And I was always techno savvy because I'd been a venture capital investor. I'd seen the internet and I watched the network effect take place in the internet. And I think there's a big network effect taking place in Bitcoin. I mean, of course, in the early days, one of the great things, what was the predecessor to Facebook? There was another predecessor.
MySpace?
Yeah, exactly. This is MySpace to Facebook. And that was always a concern, a lot of people in the early days. But then you came to realize, well, no, because not everyone's going to MySpace. And it's like Google today. I mean, nobody's going to supplant Google as the leading search engine because everyone goes there. And so networks, as they grow, they grow geometrically and they become more valuable exponentially. And that's really what's going on with Bitcoin. I think the odds of somebody coming and supplanting Bitcoin, a better Bitcoin coming along, have kind of dropped to zero.
That's what's really going on with using Bitcoin, Larry Lepard. Believe the chances of someone coming and supplanting Bitcoin, or better Bitcoin, have pretty much gone away. And there may have. There was a time when there were a lot more rivals, for example. We all remember the fork wars and blank size wars. You already know that as this thing has grown up, there have been a lot of problems. There were even some security issues not too long ago. There have been some security holes, but the community has done a great job of keeping everything together, so Larry have grown up. He now sure that the technical risk is pretty low, and Larry Lepard can see that acceptance will continue by any measure that you want to look at, like wallet addresses, the number of coins in each address, and so on. So, for Larry, it will only be a matter of time before everyone figures out that this is the best way to save money for Larry Lepard. The best and most important use case is to store value. The transfers are great, too. Lightning is cool of all the things it will take over. Store value is the one that stands out to me. The most that's $4, $5, or $6 quadrillion, depending on how you want to count them. Bitcoin is worth maybe just over $500 billion. And there are a lot of assets out there as more people learn about it. More people will put their money in Bitcoin. Let's back to the Larry Lepard interview.
And there might have been a time earlier on when, there were a lot more competitors, and, as we all know, we had fork wars and we had block size wars, and there have been a lot of issues as this thing has grown up, and even as recently as not that many years ago, there were some security problems and, some breaches, and the core developers have kind of, the community has done a good job of holding it all together. And so I've grown very comfortable that the technical risk is quite low. And I see continued adoption by any metrics that, you want to look at, wallets, addresses, number of coins per address, etc. And so to me, it's a matter of time until everybody realizes that this is your superior savings form of money. I think the highest and best use case in my view is store of value. The remittances are great. Lightning's great. I think it's going to take over a lot of different areas, but the most obvious to me is store of value. And so there's, 400, depends on what you want to measure, but there's 400, 500, 600 trillion dollars of assets out there, and Bitcoin's not even a half a trillion, or maybe it's just over a half a trillion dollars of value. And as more and more people come to understand it, more and more people are going to park their money in Bitcoin. And, as I know, and I know that the prices are just going to be much, much higher. I mean, what are there, 21 million coins or 40? I heard the other day that 40 million millionaires in the world. So if every millionaire wanted to have just one Bitcoin, they couldn't do it. I mean, so what does that tell you, right, about where the price of Bitcoin is going? It's going higher. Like so many others, I thought, well, maybe one of these others is going to work. So I confess, I own some Ethereum and I own some Litecoin, and I was smart enough or lucky enough when I could. Remember when they forked Bitcoin a couple of times? It was Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Cash. I got those, and if they were tradable, I sold them and just bought the major coin because I was pretty sure the forks wouldn't work. But no, I never promoted the shit coins, and I never went crazy on them. But I used to be of the view that there was a place for shit coins, and some of them would get used. And before Lightning came along, I thought, well, maybe it was clear to me that Bitcoin was the superior store of value because of its size and the just the different. The way it was constructed, it was going to be the store of value case. But I thought, well, you know what? Somebody's going to make another coin that's really good for transactions. That's cheap. That for under a penny per transaction, you can transact digitally. And of course, I couldn't see the Lightning Network; it didn't exist. And so, I was wondering, well, is that going to be Litecoin? Is that going to be Cardano? What is it going to be? There might be some other solution. So I owned a few of those for a while. But as time went by, particularly when Lightning emerged, it was like, and as I got to see the monetary policies of those other coins, like Ethereum, what does he change that policy like 6 or 7 times? And I mean, it's just like, okay, you really don't have a cap on the number of these things. So why do these things have any value? I mean, the whole value prop of Bitcoin, as we all know, is the cap on issuance. And frankly, that's one of the things that really disturbs me. I've heard from time to time, not many, but I've heard a few Bitcoiners. I was on the stage with one over in England who said, well, the cap's a problem. We got to maybe grow the cap at some slow rate to account for, more usage in a bigger world. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I mean, you know, first of all, there's no way the nodes and miners and everyone else going to agree to do that. But second, if any core developer proposed that, I hope they'd be laughed out of the room. The cap is the cap, period. So, yeah, so I had a little bit of a shitcoin experience, thinking that maybe some of them would work, and now I'm pretty sure they're all going to die.
Larry Lepard remember when Bitcoin split into two different coins. One was Bitcoin Gold, and the other was Bitcoin Cash. And if he could trade them, he did. He bought the Bitcoin instead, since he was pretty sure the forks wouldn't work. But no, Larry never pushed the shitcoins, and he never got crazy about them. He used to think that there was a place for shitcoins, and some of them would be used before Lightning came along. Larry Lepard thought, maybe it was clear to me that Bitcoin was a better way to store value because of how big it is, and how just the difference it was built so that it would be the store of value case. But he thought, you know what? Someone's going to make that. Another cheap coin that's great for deals and would cost less than a penny each. You can do business online. And of course, Larry couldn't see the Lightning Network, so he was thinking, is that going to be Litecoin? Is that going to be Cardano? What is it going to be? There might be another way to solve the problem. Larry Lepard had a few of those for a while. But as time went on, especially when Lightning came out, if you learned something from this video, then please like this video and subscribe our channel Everyday Finance. And we will meet next video. Thanks.